so we can take a look and see if they are listening to what Rome is telling them to do. We do see the first ban from RebelTiger. It is Catherine.
The way they're approaching this again is Catherine is such a great ban in the first, especially if you are going first. It gives you opportunity to put the pressure on the second team that's picking, and then trying to be able to secure an advantage in the early game.
Alright, Kestrel is banned here on the other side, and we do see the first pick, which is not Arden from RebelTiger, so theoretically they left him now open for Snow Avalanche, because they are going for that Vox pick. Personally, I would agree with the Vox pick, because I think it was just super well played. He is super strong, especially late game. Action Jackson, do you think, like, if they go for an aggressive laner, like maybe a Ringo or something else, that they put the pressure on the lane, on the strong RebelTiger Vox player here?
I think that might actually be quite a viable strategy, and maybe they could complement that later on with some kind of an early game composition, because as I said before, they actually did have some encouraging plays in the early game, but they were unable to move forward with that kind of style of play because their composition didn't support it. So yeah, I would agree with that. I think something like a Ringo could work here.
Alright, they are going to continue with a Sky and an Arden. So, as already said, they now took advantage here of the free left. Arden, they still feel super comfortable with the Sky. Unlikely, it was not that snowballing as good as it could be in the first match. But now, I think it could have a different outcome with that Arden. Would you agree, Rome?
Yeah, with an Arden, Sky is able to actually dive deep in, and he knows he has that kind of support in terms of that Vanguard coming in to help him. But with the other team, they secured their Vox as a first pick. They have so many options for their second and third. They could run a flex pick in Adagio. They could put up a Glaive, which Green Hornet has been playing so well. As long as he's able to use that afterburn and make sure that he's peeling away for this Vox, he will do so much damage.
Alright, so we will see. The draft has not been done yet for RebelTiger. Glaive, yeah, we know that he is strong once he gets going. Vedius, what do you think? Like, would you agree to that Glaive pick here? Or would you suggest RebelTiger to get something else? If so, what?
I think RebelTigers could just stick to... well, in terms of changing their strategy, if they want to go for something more aggressive, maybe we could see something like a Koshka. We've seen it work quite well in the past. I believe we saw Snow Tsunami actually bring it out yesterday, and it worked to some great effect. So it's, I think something that aggressive in the early game, if that's the sort of composition they want to look for, could be a great viable pick for them.
Alright, so they're going a different way. It is Finn and Blackfeather. So this time, Finn on RebelTiger's side, which is super interesting, together with that Blackfeather. So let's see, two of those heroes changed here the team. And Adagio will be on the side from Snow Avalanche. So looking at the roster while we jump into the game, Vox, Finn and Blackfeather for RebelTiger versus Adagio, Arden and Sky for Snow Avalanche. What can we expect here coming into that second match, Rome?
With the side of RebelTiger picking out a more passive scaling composition, I do have to give them a favor. I think that with this Finn and Blackfeather, the late game is going to be really strong. And as long as they get to that 15-minute mark, Vox will do that damage. On the other hand, you do have that Sky and that Arden and Adagio combo. So this is actually the perfect scenario for this Sky to be actually played as a weapon carry. And to be able to, if they were to do this, he would be using all of like the benefits coming out of that Arden Vanguard, coming out of the Agent of Wrath on Adagio. I do have to give the advantage over to RebelTiger. I think that Arc Lost in Space will carry this game for them.
Alright, jumping into the game, throwing it to Action Jackson and Vedius. Good luck and have fun.
All right, thank you very much, guys. I'm looking forward to this second game. RebelTigers looking to close it out in a 2-0, move forward as the third place team for the first qualifier. At the moment, Avalanche, they need to mount a comeback in order to stand a chance of getting through this as anything other than the fourth place team. Vedius, how are you feeling about the second game?
I am once again excited. I seem to be very excited about everything. I'm a very excited person, especially when it comes to Vainglory. But the thing that excites me the most is what Rome was saying about a weapon power Sky, because as far as I can tell, we've pretty much only seen crystal power Skies so far throughout this winter qualifier. So I'm looking forward to seeing how it works and how it compares with, or how it pairs up with this Adagio. But in terms of the early game, what I'm expecting is Snow Avalanche to be the aggressors. And as I say, that HF guy already looking for that aggression.
I feel like he's a bit more at home in the jungle rather than in the lane now that we've got Araxi back up there. HF Guy has historically been playing that jungle position, so hopefully he can have a bit more of an impact this game. Did struggle last time around.
Yeah, he certainly did, and I completely agree with you. Moving him to the jungle is where I felt he shined in yesterday's semi-final against Team Secret. And when he played Blackfeather yesterday, he really was the standout carry on their team to secure themselves the first victory against Team Secret. Unfortunately, after that, Team Secret did really step up their game, and we will get to see Team Secret a little bit later, but HF Guy really was the carry when he was in that jungle position. So moving him back there, I'm looking forward to seeing what he can bring out.
Araxi needs to be careful right now moving into this side bush. Arc lost in space, going to turn up the heat a little bit, start trying to get the pressure down. But Araxi is able to get away from that one after putting a lot of pressure down onto Arc Lost in Space, just in terms of the poke.
Yeah, it certainly is, and Araxi needs to be careful because Law now actually being the one aggressively moving up into the lane and providing support for Arc Lost. And this is something that we're seeing more often with this RebelTiger's lineup, where they basically try and support Arc Lost during the early game, because a lot of aggression tends to come down onto him. Because I think a lot of people respect him as that carry, as the guy that has a lot of mechanical prowess, and really, if he gets a slight lead, can run away with the game.
And on the flip side, when he has struggled, he's really struggled, right? Might be one of these emotional players that does kind of tilt a little bit. It's hard to say for sure without analyzing like a far higher volume of his games, but when he has been shut down, he has historically really struggled to come back into the game.
He has. But so far, he was the player that we brought into question during the pre-game show. We were like, when it comes down to this matchup, can Arc Lost step it up? Can he be the carry that we know him to be? And so far, he's been doing just that as the fight kicks off.
Yeah, Green Hornet taking a brunt of damage here on the side of Tigers. Ford Barrage not quite having the same impact as a Crystal Power build early on here. Yeah, nice job by Avalanche, pressuring on the early game. Araxi does have to be careful, though he's fairly low health. Green Hornet very low as well. One or two autos from Araxi might have been able to pick him up there, but Hornet was able to escape.
But it looks like Snow Avalanche looking to be the aggressors. They want to try and capitalize on this weak early game of Blackfeather. I think he's in trouble.
Green Hornet walking a very strange way to get out of there, but actually, Araxi just decided, you know what, Bash, you got this, I'm going to leave. Finally turns around and helps his teammate out. First kill of the game, going the way of Avalanche.
A bit of a questionable decision-making from Green Hornet. I felt like he could have just disengaged, gone back to base, but by going into his jungle to pick up a bit of extra farm, Snow Avalanche realized this, they followed him in and secured themselves the first blood. So, smart play from Snow Avalanche, but also big misplay from Green Hornet. Not something that you want to be doing when you have such a great scaling composition.
Avarice is the bane of many players, I feel like, for Vainglory, and you know, pretty much everything. It's just one of those things where if you're too greedy and you go for a camp when you really shouldn't, you're going to get punished. We saw last game Blackfeather struggle to reach a point where he was relevant, and that could happen very much for the opposing team here if he does give away too many kills early on.
The one thing I want to quickly touch on is this change up in the vision coming out from Snow Avalanche now, because they are chucking down significantly more scout traps than we saw earlier, and that seems to come from their aggressive playstyle that they have now picked up. With this composition, they can afford to walk into the enemy jungle and make those plays, and just look at all these scout traps that are coming out from Bash. He is not holding back when it comes to this deep and effective vision control, which is now going to give them the very early gold mine.
Yeah, this is them doing a perfect or textbook example of what you need to be doing with your vision control. It's actually leveraging that to find some kind of an edge. The gold mine is a great example. Araxi, as soon as he goes straight back to lane, you can see Lore trying to make something happen, but Green Hornet caught out a little bit. Bash takes a lot of damage, but with Death from Above available to HF Guy, they still want to go for a fight here. They got to be careful. Arc lost in space, doing some good damage. Lore actually gets a return kill with the Quibble, and they finally managed to even things up 1-for-1.
So this time, what looked like a bad fight for Rebel Tigers actually worked out very well because it forced Snow Avalanche into that choke point, which allowed Lord to land multiple Quibbles onto multiple targets, and Arcloss was free to do the damage from the backline, and notice how much health he has. He wasn't even touched in that exchange, while Green Hornet was just trying to draw some of the attention away, and it enabled them to position well enough to secure themselves a kill back onto the board. So very well executed fight from the Rebel Tigers right there.
I'm very impressed that they were able to do that with the later scaling comp. Compared to what we saw last game, at this kind of equivalent stage, Avalanche, who had a more late game comp, weren't really able to pull off the same kind of a fight, so that is a glimmer of hope for the side of the Tigers. But that said, Avalanche, they're still doing a good job with the vision control. They still got the gold mine. They have things going for them in a broader sense. It's just about whether or not they can maintain this, because once it gets late enough in the game, I don't think there's any question that there's just going to be so much damage coming out of Vox. Black Feather, Finn with the Forced Accords can make so many plays. It's going to be hard for Avalanche, I think, later on.
But it is still the early game, and this is where their comp is very strong. And you have to remember that a Sky can still pack a decent punch, but hang on, speaking of Sky,
Hornet actually doing a good job of starting the fight off when he knew he could get away with Rose Offensive. Arc lost in space, kiting around here, is going to get out of that burst of judgment. Araxi now very low. HF Guy as well. There's the Forced Accord. It actually hooks in the Gold Miner as well, though. Lore leading the charge is going to find that first kill. Going to have to try and get out of here now, though. HF Guy is going to have forward barrage available. Has a lot of damage from that. Araxi might get capitalized on, though. On point coming out from Green Hornet. The damage from Araxi is big, but he has to just run away. Lore now taking a lot from the forward barrage, but he's used himself baiting in there for the entirety of the skill, and that's given Green Hornet a chance to turn it around. Arc lost in space, still very healthy. 2 kills going over to the Rebel Tigers.
And what a well-played fight from the Rebel Tigers. Notice how Lore used his polite company to just drag everybody in to such a close proximity to each other that once again, he could get multiple Quibbles off onto multiple targets. They are using this Finn so effectively in this matchup, and it is allowing Arcloss to position in a way that he can get his damage down onto multiple targets. I was a little bit worried when he landed that Forced Accord onto the Gold Miner, because in the 4 versus 3, I felt like that could have been an opportunity for Snow Avalanche to turn things around, but they were able to play around it. They were able to kite around the fight, split up Snow Avalanche, and then once Snow Avalanche were divided, after dragging them all in, that was the opportunity that Green Hornet needed to then start trying to clean up the fight, and it ended up going actually only 1 or 2 kills over in the favor of Rebel Tigers.
Yeah, Avalanche trying to find something on the return here. They realize that Lore is still kind of low. Arc lost in space is going to be the main target, though. Gonna Sonic Zoom out of here. Manages to get away for now. Lore has the Forced Accord, pulls an HF Guy, but does not land the Quibble, and now Green Hornet needs to be careful. He's taking a lot of damage on the return from HF Guy, who's gonna maybe look to dive this tower, posturing like he wants to be aggressive. I feel like it would be a little bit bold. He is gonna back away.
He certainly is. So, bit of back and forth trading between the two teams. Rebel Tigers being very hesitant to go for any straight up engagement because they do still have that later scaling composition, so it is risky to fight HF Guy on this guy right now. He hasn't had an opportunity to complete any major items on this weapon pass guy, but once he does, I'm looking forward to seeing how much damage he can do paired up with Araxi, because I feel like come the mid game, he's going to hit a pretty significant spike.
I would agree with you there, and Green Hornet, learning from his earlier mistakes there, used On Point to pull the camp from in the bush so that he could keep an eye out. Right now, Bash wants to go for a fight, though. That's the gauntlet used. Lore is fairly tanky on the backside, and Araxi wants to find Arc lost in space. He gets the kill. HF Guy finds Green Hornet, too. Lore likely going to go down as well. This could be an ace. He needs to live for 10 seconds if he wants to deny it, and he cannot do so. An ace coming in for Avalanche at just about 10 minutes into the game.
I was just saying, Rebel Tigers, they're avoiding those fights right now because they know that Snow Avalanche have the stronger team composition, yet they decide to go into their own half of the jungle because they felt like they've caught HF Guy out of position, and it turns out that HF Guy is actually the one that was baiting them in. Phenomenal gauntlet came down from Bash, and the very early Crucible that we see from Law was just held onto for a little bit too long, which resulted in it not actually being any benefit whatsoever. So that results in HF Guy and the side of Snow Avalanche securing themselves an ace, as well as picking up the first turret of the game. So very well played from Snow Avalanche, regaining control of the game.
Not to mention, and we haven't touched on it in a while, the gold mine has continuously been in control of Avalanche this game. So they're actually cashing out a few times on that. Managed to accrue a over 3,000 gold lead at the moment, which is very decent, very respectable for the 10.5-minute mark. But 15 minutes, I'd say, is when you need to start worrying about, for example, Arc Lost in Space and his damage, right? So you wouldn't expect Tigers to necessarily be doing too well right now, and I'm sure they're not panicking too much. They've also got the game up. They've got the wiggle room here. Whereas on the side of Avalanche, every single play is life or death because they've got their backs against the walls and they need to win this to even have a hope of getting third place.
Yeah, precisely that. The goal difference between the two teams isn't that big, given that Rebel Tigers do have the scaling composition. All they need is one decent fight once they've completed those major items to really run away with the game and regain that gold gap that suddenly has began to accumulate. The items that you really need to keep an eye out for is Arc Lost. He's already got 2 of his major items, the Alternating Current combined with the Broken Myth. Alongside that is Green Hornet going for a very early Shiver Steal, but Snow Avalanche, they want this turret.
They're doing a lot of damage to it, but look at that. Immediately after being hooked in, that's going to be a kill going down onto Araxi. HF Guy is in a bit of a tough spot here. He's got a lot of people on his back. Bash has already fallen. Can Lore get this one? Looks like HF Guy will be able to get away from here, but right off the back, oh, Green Hornet! He used on point from out of range, didn't get the shield, went down to the forward barrage. A bit of an overextension there from the Rebel Tigers.
But it was also an overextension from Snow Avalanche for that fight to go so well in the favor of Rebel Tigers in the first place. Snow Avalanche wanted that turret, so much so that they committed insanely hard to try and get it for themselves, and that resulted in Araxi being in a position that was not great. He gets dragged in by the Forced Accord from Law, and that secures the first kill for Rebel Tigers, and it just becomes a cleanup following that. But as you rightly say, Green Hornet then, he tries to get the on point onto HF Guy. He feels that he can continue this fight, but HF Guy, he has the range, he has the positioning, and he gets a return kill off the back of it. But still, 2 kills in favor of Rebel Tigers, and they are successful in keeping that turret alive.
Yeah, and with the regenerating shield, it gives them a bit of wiggle room for the next push. I feel like they're beginning to approach the spot where they can start winning fights. Lore has Forced Accord back available again. Might look for something here. Does actually fish it out. Finds Bash, but the turret's gone down. Green Hornet quite low. Arc Lost in Space jumping in on the front line. He's actually doing a lot of damage to the side of Avalanche right now. Finds the kill onto Bash. Araxi is in a bad spot. They're actually on the wrong side of the lane, but they're doing a good job of getting the damage down. They're going to find themselves an ace right as the immense payout is collected. A massive gold influx for Snow Avalanche.
Oh, that was such a tense fight between the two teams. You could see how Rebel Tigers, it was looking great for them, largely because of a fantastic Crucible that came out to prevent Araxi from getting that multi-target stun off with his Verse of Judgment. But all of the target focus from Rebel Tigers went down onto Bash. And when he fell, I thought, well, right now, the Rebel Tigers are just going to start cleaning up the fight. But no, HF Guy combined with Araxi really shows what this weapon power Sky can do. And he was just cleaning up the fight, repositioning all the time, getting the targets that really needed to be shut down. They focused down onto Arc Lost, then they moved their attention onto Green Hornet, and then it was simply a matter of cleanup onto Law, who was the final target remaining. So very well executed fight from Snow Avalanche, but again, the target focus from Rebel Tigers just doesn't seem to be there.
Not only that, but Arc Lost in Space leading the charge, I feel, was a little bit too ambitious. He doesn't have quite enough damage to just insta-kill someone yet, and he also doesn't have the ability to just Sonic Zoom again and again and again yet, because he doesn't really have enough cooldown reduction. So he put himself in a jeopardizing position and did fall as a result. Green Hornet got poked so low at the beginning of the fight that he couldn't follow up. Now, the 15-minute mark has finally happened. The Kraken has spawned. Avalanche have a lot of position on the map right now. They've killed 3 turrets. RebelTiger, they've got to be careful when trying to get vision to stop Avalanche from just taking the Kraken.
The thing for me is we've now hit the 15-minute mark, so if Snow Avalanche go for the Kraken, it could be very risky, because this is the point in the game where RebelTigers are saying, okay, we can fight, and there's a good chance of us winning, because the Eve of Harvest has now been completed for Arc Lost, so he's going to have way more sustain in these next few engagements. Green Hornet has completed his Serpent's Mask, so he's also going to be having a lot more sustain in these engagements, and the fact that these fights are slowly becoming more dragged out is exactly what RebelTigers wants. Both teams looking for an engagement, but RebelTigers still a little bit hesitant to pull the trigger.
I'm actually surprised that Bash didn't just throw down the gauntlet right there. He would have had everyone inside of it, but he did decide just to back off and take position on the Kraken instead. Avalanche, they're uncontested on this right now. It looks like Tigers don't want to chance their luck.
No, they certainly don't. They're just going to give away this... They're just going to give away this Kraken, and I'm curious as to how now RebelTigers are going to play around this. They might look to try and get a fight in before the Kraken can even get to their base, and that could be a great opportunity for them. And as I say that, you can see them grouping up in this bush looking for the fight.
This is a very risky play, but one that could pay off in a big way. Araxi definitely does not expect it. Forced Accord, where is it? They've just let them pass, and now they're stuck between the Kraken and their base. This is bad for Tigers, but a 3-man Forced Accord comes out. Arc Lost in Space is on the right side of that gauntlet. He blocks the Verse of Judgment. Maybe he can turn this fight around. HF guy doing so much damage on the back line, though. He finds the kill. Green Hornet, he's very low. He's going to go down. Lauren, a tough spot now. 1 versus 3. Finds a 3-man stun, but it's not enough. With 30-second death timers and a Kraken out for Avalanche, they're almost certainly going to take this to a game 3.
The weapon power, Sky doing so much work on the backline, able to come out in a 1 versus 1 against Arc Lost, really showing the prowess that you can have when you're supported by that Adagio and the weapon power Sky combo. Really impressive stuff to see, and I'm really impressed with how Snow Avalanche were able to